Hey everybody, we're back for day 2 of solving trig equations. So the date is 4-7. Make sure that you guys take out a brand new sheet of paper. Put 4-7 at the top of it. Try to stay organized with the dates. That's how we're going to stay organized now, is dates. Okay? But we're going to do the second day of solving trig equations. Now, one thing we will need, and we're just going to build off what we did last time, is we got to really remember in which quadrants should trig functions produce positive answers, and if we know where they're going to produce positive answers, in return we'll know where they're going to produce negative answers. We're going to need that when solving. The directions for today are going to be the exact same as yesterday, except we're going to do radian measure now. So instead of in between 0 degrees and 360 degrees, we're going to do 0 radians to 2 pi radians. Now, if something is quote-unquote nice, that means part of the 30, 45, or 60 family, or a quadrantal, we'll want our answer in exact radians. That means we're going to use pi. But if something is not nice and we have to use our calculator, then we'll use rounded radian measure, which will look like decimals, and we'll go to 2 decimal places because pi is 3.14, 2 pi is 6.28. Look back in your chapter 13 and we did talk about that. All right, you guys, so here's your first problem of the day. Number 1. We're going to have the square root of 3 times tangent of x plus 6 equals 7. So whenever we look at this, we only have one variable and one trig function, actually. So I got to get everything away from it so I can inverse tangent. Well, first step, minus 6 on both sides. So now I got rad 3 times tangent of x is equal to 1. To get rid of a multiple, you divide. So divide both sides by rad 3, and you have tangent of x is equal to 1 over rad 3. Now, we don't need to rationalize it. We don't need to make that rad 3 over 3. It actually would make more sense right now if we didn't. So if you use your calculator, you can be in degree mode, and if you get something special of the 30, 45, or 60 family, or a quadrantal, you can just convert that to radians. But this is one that I probably should know. If tangent of x and I inverse tangent in a calculator, I should know what has an opposite side of 1 and an adjacent side of rad 3, and it's 30 degrees. So your calculator is going to say 30 degrees, but we don't want to put that. 30 degrees in radian form is pi over 6. And remember, we did talk about radian form in chapter 13, so go back and review that material. Well, I also need to know all students take classes, because tangent is giving me a positive answer. And in which quadrant should tangent give you a positive answer? All of them there, tangent in the third. So I'm going to take a pi over 6 reference angle or family member of 30 degrees, and I'm going to make sure that I have a pi over 6 reference angle in the first quadrant, which is pi over 6, and a pi over 6 reference angle in the third quadrant, and this is 1 pi. Remember, your quadrantal of 180 degrees is 1 pi. So 1 pi plus 1/6 of a pi is 7 pi over 6. So just like yesterday, we're going to usually get 2 answers, but instead of degree format, we're going to try to give our answer in radian form. All right, you guys. Number 2. We're going to have 10 sine squared of x plus 3 is equal to 8. Well, we only have one trig function in here with a variable, but we have to get rid of 3 different pieces now. The 10, the squared, and the 3 in the correct order. So you guys, I'm going to do the first 2 steps pretty quick here. I hope you can follow along. Minus 3 will give you 5. Divide by 10 will give you 1/2. So I have sine squared of x equals 1/2. Now, think about the next step before I do it. You can press pause. How are you going to get rid of the squared? Well, you're going to square roots, but you can't forget your plus or minus. So I'm going to have sine of x is equal to plus or minus, and I'm going to square root the right side. Square root of 1 is 1. Square root of 2 is rad 2. And I'm not going to rationalize it. That's silly, because I should know what has an opposite side of 1 and a hypotenuse of rad 2. it's a 45-degree angle for my triangles. So now you guys, what you know, that's 45 degrees. So if you type inverse sine of 1 over rad 2 in your calculator, you get 45 degrees. But I know that that's really pi over 4. The next thing, though, I also think about, if he's part of the 45-degree family, is what other quadrants should I be in? Well, sine of x can give you a positive answer, but sine of x can also give you a negative answer. So sine would be positive in the first and second quadrant. It would be negative in the third and fourth quadrant. So I'm going to have to take that 45-degree or pi over 4 radian reference angle and put it into all quadrants. So pi over 4 reference angle is pi over 4. Pi over 4 reference angle, well, it's 1/4 short of 1, so it's 3 pi over 4. Reference angle of pi over 4, 1 plus 1/4 is 5/4, so 5 pi over 4. And finally, reference angle of pi over 4, it's 1/4 short of 2. 2 is 8/4, so 8/4 minus 1/4 is 7/4, or 7 pi over 4. So you guys, again, is a lot of times we get 2 answers, but since we had to put plus or minus, we actually incorporate all quadrants in order to solve this one. So a little bit tricky. All right, you guys, we're going to do one more example. I need my eraser. Sorry for the break there. Here is number 3, our last example of the day. And hopefully it's making sense. And if not, like I said, leave me a comment or rewatch the video. Maybe it'll click the second time you hear it. So number 3, we have tangent squared of x. Remember, that's tangent of x times tangent of x. Minus tangent of x equals 2. Well, whenever you see this problem, you might think, oh, it's greatest common factor of tangent of x. You can only factor if it equals 0. So right now we can't solve by factoring until we move the 2 over, and then it's not a greatest common factor problem. We have tangent squared of x minus tangent of x minus 2 equals 0. And to me, this is MA bottoms up. All right, just like we had an MA bottoms up yesterday, this one's easier though because the front number is 1. So you guys, I'm going to do MA work. The front times the back is your M number. The middle number is your add number. Now, what 2 numbers multiply together to be -2? Sorry, multiply together to be -2, add together to be -1 is -2 and +1. Those are our specials. So I make up 2 parentheses equals 0. And I have to start them both with tangent of x to make up my tangent squared of x. And then I put my special numbers, -2, +1. And I divide by the front number, but when I divide by 1, it stays -2. When I divide by 1, it stays +1. And now I do the 0 product rule. I take tangent of x minus 2 equals 0, and I take tangent of x plus 1 equals 0. Add 2 minus 1, and there should be a problem on the board that you can do without a calculator. So pause the video and see if you know which one you can solve without a calculator, hopefully. And it is this one right here. This one, you guys, is 1 over 1. What angle has an opposite side of 1 and an adjacent side of 1 is 45 degrees or pi over 4, but you do have to know in which quadrant you get a negative answer. So I know it's a pi over 4 family, but tangent is going to be negative in the second and fourth quadrant. So for this, if you use a calculator, you'll get -45 degrees. You know something is special about it. But I'm going to put a pi over 4 reference angle in the fourth quadrant, a pi over 4 reference angle in the second quadrant. This angle is 3 pi over 4. This angle is 7 pi over 4. So I got my solution. Now, you can't use negative 45 degrees in your calculator. You would have to do a little thought process to get down to here. All right, now this one, we don't know this. We don't know something with an opposite side of 2 and an adjacent side of 1. We can always turn something into a fraction. So we have to use our calculator. Another thing that you could do to double check is take the inverse tangent of both sides, and my calculator, if I can find it here, said 63 degrees. Well, that's not an angle we're normally dealing with. So what I will do now is, to finish this problem, I'm going to make sure my calculator is in radian mode because we want radian answers. And when I do the inverse tangent of both sides in radian mode, I get 1.11 radians. So, but I do have to think about quadrants. Tangent gives you a positive answer. Tangent would give you a positive answer in the first and third. So this actually ends up being my first quadrant angle. It's also my reference angle though. So if I go 1.11 radians up, I don't get to 90 degrees or 1.57 radians, which is pi divided by 2. So this is 1.11 radians. But I have to have these family member 1.11 reference angle. And if this is 3.14, which is pi, add 1.11, you get 4.25 radians also. So this one equation here has 4 different solutions. 2 of the solutions have to be rounded radian form. 2 of the solutions can be in exact radian form. All right, you guys, I hope this helps. Again, reach out if you need help from me. Otherwise, watch the video again, see if it makes sense. And here are 3 homework problems for you. Number 1, you're going to do tangent square root of x minus 7 equals negative 4. Number 2, you have 6 times cosine of x plus 1 equals 8 times cosine of x plus 2. And number 3, you'll have 2 times sine square root of x minus sine of x minus 1 equals 0. Remember that we're going to kind of give you guys just a short amount of skills or problems each day. Make sure you're following along, and I hope everything's going good with you. Stay inside as much as you can. Keep your social distancing, so then hopefully we can get back here May 1st is the plan, hopefully, right? So love to see you guys, and reach out to me if you need anything. It's your boy, Mr. P. Have a great day, and hi to Mr. Clendenin's class too.